Okay, so have you ever run into someone you know, but you just completely blank on their name?
Oh, yeah.
It's the worst, right?
The worst.
In this deep dive, we're checking out episode #4 from Coffee and English podcast.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And they actually talk about this exact situation.
Interesting.
Like how to handle those awkward moments where you can't remember someone's name and still sound, smooth and confident in English.
That's super useful. I mean, I feel like that happens to everyone at some point,
Oh,
right?
totally. And what I love about this episode is they start with this really relatable dialogue. It's like
Yeah.
they throw you right into the action, which makes it so much more engaging.
Right. You can totally picture yourself in that situation.
Exactly. And they don't just leave you hanging, they break down some really handy phrases and idioms that you can use in those moments.
So you're not just like uh, standing there with a deer in the headlights look.
Exactly. Like they talk about in a bit of a hurry, which might seem basic, but they explain how it's so much more than just saying you're busy.
It's about conveying that sense of urgency, but in a polite way, right?
Yeah. Like in the example they give, sorry, I can't chat. I'm in a bit of a hurry to catch my train.
Hmm. That's perfect.
It's clear, it's concise, and it gets the message across without sounding rude.
I like that. What else?
Oh, and then there's slipped my mind, which is like the ultimate excuse for forgetting something.
That's a good way.
It's so much better than just blurting out, I forgot.
It's like you're saying the information just like gently floated away.
Right. And they give the example, oh, it's your birthday. It totally slipped my mind.
Oh, that's perfect for that awkward name situation.
Totally. Like it adds a touch of humor to kind of lighten the mood.
Yeah, because no one wants to feel like they've been completely forgotten.
Exactly. But then they go beyond individual phrases and dive into some of the subtleties of language.
Like what?
Well, they spend some time talking about how we use around here and its variations like around the corner or around there.
Oh, interesting. So it's about like how we talk about location.
Yeah. They explain how those little changes can actually make a big difference in the meaning.
Huh. I never really thought about it that way.
Right. And they give some great examples like, is there a pharmacy around here? Suggests you're looking for something nearby. But there's a great cafe just around the corner. Implies a specific place that's a little hidden.
Ah, so it's like you're giving more precise directions.
Exactly. And then there's the part where they talk about those terrible with confessions.
Terrible with.
Like, I'm terrible with names or I'm terrible with directions.
Oh, yeah. We all have those things, right?
Totally. It's like they're saying, hey, it's okay to admit your weaknesses.
It makes it feel more relatable. Like you're not the only one struggling with these things.
Exactly. And they even encourage listeners to think about what they're terrible with.
I love that. It makes it more interactive and personal.
Yeah. It's like a fun way to connect with the material and think about how it applies to you.
Makes sense. So beyond the relatable struggles, what else do they cover?
Well, they also give some awesome tips for boosting your fluency, like switching out how are you for how's it going?
Wait, really? Just that one change makes a difference.
It's subtle, but it makes your English sound much more natural and less textbooky.
So, like, I'm instantly cooler just by saying, how's it going? Instead of, how are you?
Pretty much. And then there's this hilarious story Marco tells about forgetting his own uncle's name at a family reunion.
Oh, no. I can't even imagine.
It's so funny, but also relatable because we've all been there, right?
For sure. And it also shows that even English teachers have those brain fart moments.
Exactly. It makes you feel less alone in your struggles. But here's the best part. He uses that blunder to teach us a brilliant trick.
A trick? I'm intrigued.
If you ever blank on someone's name, ask for their business card or email address.
Wait, that's genius.
Right. It's like a sneaky way to get their name without making it obvious that you forgot.
I love it. It's like a social survival skill disguised as an English lesson.
It totally is. And then they emphasize the importance of listening to the dialogue at different speeds.
So like slow motion and then normal speed.
Exactly. It's like they're giving you a chance to really absorb the nuances of pronunciation and intonation.
So you can hear how everything flows together naturally.
Yeah. It's a really powerful technique for training your ear and developing that sense of rhythm and flow that's so crucial for natural sounding English.
That's awesome. So basically, they're giving you all the tools you need to not only survive those awkward moments, but actually thrive in them.
Exactly. And we've only just scratched the surface.
There's more.
Oh, yeah. We've got a whole lot more to unpack in part 2 of this deep dive.
Can't wait. Welcome back.
To our deep dive into Coffee and English podcast, episode #4.
I'm ready for more.
Me too. So before we move on, I just got to circle back to something they mentioned that I think is pure gold for anyone learning English.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
That whole idea of listening to the dialogue multiple times, first slowly and then at natural speed.
Well, that's such a good point.
It's so easy to get caught up in, learning individual words and grammar rules,
Totally.
but hearing those things used naturally in a conversation,
Yeah.
it's a whole different ballgame.
It's like reading a recipe versus actually tasting the dish.
Exactly. And Marco and Erica, they do such a good job of giving you both.
Yeah.
Like you get the slow motion replay first.
Right.
So you can really catch all those subtle details of pronunciation and intonation.
Right.
And then they play it at natural speed so you can hear how it all flows together.
It's like they're training your ears to hear those nuances.
Yeah. And speaking of things clicking into place, remember how they highlighted "how's it going" as a more casual alternative to "how are you"?
Oh, yeah. I love that one.
It instantly makes your English sound so much more natural.
It's like you've unlocked the secret code to sounding like a native speaker.
Right. It's all about establishing that connection and rapport,
Totally.
which is so key for any successful conversation.
Like you're showing genuine interest.
Yeah. And speaking of connection, one of the things I really appreciate about this podcast is how they connect with their listeners on a personal level.
Yeah?
Like Marco sharing that story about forgetting his uncle's name at a family reunion.
Oh, man, I was cringing for him when I heard that.
I know, right? But it was also hilarious.
It was, and so relatable.
Because we've all been there, right? Like, who hasn't had a brain fart moment where they completely blank on someone's name?
Seriously.
Yeah.
But it also makes them, like, more human.
Right. Like, hey, even English teachers make mistakes.
It takes the pressure off.
It totally does. It reminds you that language learning isn't about being perfect. It's about, putting yourself out there,
Yeah.
trying new things,
Right.
and yeah, even making a few blunders along the way.
And embracing those blunders.
Exactly. But the best part is, Marco doesn't just tell the story for laughs.
There's a lesson in there, too, right?
Oh, yeah. He uses that blunder to teach us a brilliant tactic.
Fill me in.
If you ever blanked on someone's name, ask for their business card or email address.
That is genius.
You're right. It's like a stealthy way to get their name without making it super obvious that you forgot.
I'm totally going to use that.
Me too. It's like a social life hack.
It is. So resourceful.
And it just shows that even in those awkward moments, there are ways to, maintain your composure and even turn things around.
So it's not just about learning English. It's about learning how to, like, handle real-life situations.
Exactly. It's about communication and connection.
Mm.
So I'm curious,
Yeah.
as we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Okay.
what's been the biggest takeaway for you so far? What's resonated the most?
For me, it's the way they make language learning so relatable and enjoyable.
Yeah,
They don't dumb things down,
right.
but they manage to break down these complex concepts into, like, bite-sized pieces,
Mhm.
and they do it with humor
Yeah,
and a genuine connection with their audience.
absolutely. They're not just teaching you English, they're teaching you how to be a better communicator, how to connect with people, and how to handle those inevitable awkward moments.
With grace and a sense of humor.
I love that. But wait, there's more.
Oh.
In part 3, we're going to step back and look at the bigger picture of what this episode teaches us about effective language learning and building confidence in those real-world situations that can sometimes feel a little intimidating.
Sounds good. I'm ready.
And we're back for the final part of our deep dive into this episode of Coffee and English podcast.
So we've talked about awkward moments and clever strategies and all those little things that can trip us up when we're learning English.
Yeah, but I feel like this episode goes beyond just, like, the surface level stuff.
I agree. There's something deeper here.
Like, what are they really trying to teach us about language learning in general?
I think it's the power of learning by doing,
Oh, tell me more.
They don't just, like, lecture at you about grammar rules or vocabulary lists.
Right.
They throw you right into the middle of a real-life conversation.
It's like they're saying, okay, here's a situation you might actually encounter. Now, how would you handle it? And then they give you the tools to do just that.
It's so much more effective than just, like, memorizing flashcards.
Totally. It's about equipping you with the language you'll actually use in your everyday life, whether you're ordering a coffee or making small talk with a colleague or, yeah, even trying to remember someone's name at a party.
And it's not just about what you say, but how you say it.
Oh, absolutely.
Remember how they emphasized natural pronunciation and intonation?
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
It's like they were helping you find your own voice within the language,
Yeah.
your own unique way of expressing yourself.
I love that. And that's where the repetition and listening at different speeds comes in, right?
Exactly. It's like they're training your ear
Mm-hmm.
to pick up on those subtle nuances that make your English sound more natural and fluent.
It's like a workout for your ears.
It is.
Ugh.
But you know what? I think there's another layer to this.
Oh, I'm listening.
It's about building confidence.
Okay. Yeah.
Because let's be real, learning a new language can be super intimidating.
Especially when you're putting yourself out there in those real life conversations.
Exactly. And that's where I think this episode really shines.
Yeah.
By tackling this common fear of forgetting someone's name,
Right.
they're addressing a very real anxiety that a lot of language learners experience.
Yeah, for sure.
And by offering these practical solutions and strategies,
Hmm.
they're empowering you to like overcome those fears and navigate those tricky situations with grace and even a sense of humor.
That's so important because sometimes you just feel so stuck in those moments.
No, no, right?
And they're like, look, we've all been there. It's okay to make mistakes. The important thing is to keep learning, keep practicing, and don't be afraid to laugh at yourself along the way.
I love that.
It's like they're giving you a pep talk and a toolkit all rolled into one.
Totally. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with this thought.
Hit me.
Think about the language challenges you're facing right now, those little hurdles that trip you up or make you feel a bit hesitant.
Yeah, like maybe it's a grammar point that just won't stick, or the fear of speaking up in a group setting.
Exactly. Whatever it is, remember the lessons we've uncovered today.
Embrace the awkward moments, find creative solutions.
And don't be afraid to laugh at yourself along the way.
Because language learning is a journey, not a destination.
And every step you take, even if it's a little stumble, brings you closer to your goal.
So keep exploring, keep practicing, and most importantly, keep having fun with it.
And hey, if you ever find yourself struggling to recall someone's name, just remember Marco's business card trick. It might just save the day.
That's great advice. Well, that's it for our deep dive into Coffee and English podcast, episode #4.
It's been a fun one.
Thanks for joining us, and happy language learning.